This season I wanted to do a show in the restaurant LaCARAVELLE. It's a hugely important New York restaurant historically, been here for almost 44 years. Great husband and wife owners, veterans, a talented chef in the kitchen. This restaurant has superb pedigree. Trouble was they closed, but that didn't stop us. We still wanted to get the story, so we got in here the last night and had the honor to film the last night at Caravelle. It's quite a show. On May 31st, 1939, the formidable restaurateur Henry Soulet stepped off the SS Normandy with his crew to open the French Pavillon at the New York World's Fair. In a great twist of fate, the France Soulet left became occupied France, and he and his crew would stay on and open Le Pavillon, one of New York's most important restaurants. The French had arrived, new higher standards in service and dining were being set, and the New York restaurant scene would never be the same. For many years, Chef Roger Fezeguet was in charge of the kitchen. He was one of the greatest chefs of his generation. Let's see him in action via some classic archival footage.
Come on, pick up. Harry Safrané. Non, un émincé de volaille. Le 2 tu prends, hein? Ok. Henri Pilaf. 2 couverts en commande, un filet de sol du jour, un poisson grillé médium rare.
And that was him, Fezeguet at his prime. The good old days. And now we'll meet the new owners, Andre and Rita Jammet.
I became very friendly with Robert Mézin, who was the owner, one of the owners of Caravelle. And one day, I said to Robert, why don't I'd like to open a restaurant. Why don't you advise me? So he used to go from places to places for me, and I was showing the place. I said, all right, this is not for you. This is not for you. This is not for you. So, and one day he invited me here at the corner table here for a little lunch, and he said, Andre, I want to retire. The place is yours if you wish. And that's how it started. It's very simple
What
story.
year was the very simple story? What year was this?
It was 1984.
Wow. Chef Fezeguet is no longer in the kitchen. The chef that replaces him is strong. You had through here Michael Romano in the early days before Union Square.
Yes.
You picked him up. Tadashi Ono, fantastic chef.
Exactly.
Sono, Troy downstairs. So you've managed each time. I mean, because this is so pivotal with a restaurant.
Absolutely.
Who's that choice? How do you do it? How do you just shopping around or?
You just you have to be sort of patient. You don't always have that luxury, but I don't know. You can tell from someone that they're going to develop, and you take a chance at some point because when you change the capacity of someone, then might not be the same. On the other hand, some people blossom out.
Right.
I'm going to tell you now. All this, it's family for us. It's like a big family that's getting bigger and bigger, and that's wonderful.
Behind every great restaurant, there's a great bartender. Alberto Alonso, then and now. So now talk about stories. Alberto, you've been here for how long?
42 years.
42 years. My math puts you here right when they opened.
Well, about a year and a half after they opened.
Okay.
Yeah,
A year and a half, so.
Right.
That's a heck of a long run.
I think it's a long run. It's a home run, not a long run. Home run. Go all around, don't stop.
Everybody says that you could come here and come back 6 months later and you remember exactly what they drink.
I remember whatever they drink. I remember. I get good for eyes, for faces. Maybe not for them, but for faces. I am very good on that.
Allow me to introduce you to one of New York's most talented young chefs. Well, Troy, thanks for having us in today.
Thank you very much for coming.
Really, I was...
Pleasure.
Well, it's been my pleasure. I've been lucky enough to have a few great meals in the past 6 months with you in the kitchen, so you're stunning. For the 3 New Yorkers that might not know your background, tell me a bit where you came from and how you ended up as the executive chef at Caravelle.
I'm a Louisiana native. I was born and reared in Louisiana. I'm a graduate of Louisiana State University in English literature. I began at La Côte Basque in a restaurant called Le Festival, which is no longer around. And from there I went with Daniel when he was at Le Cirque. From there to Jean-Georges when he was at the Lafayette Hotel. From there I went with Barry Wine at the Quilted Giraffe. Gray Coons, we had met, and he told me about an exciting project that he was opening in the St. Regis Hotel. So I came on as the number 2 in the pre-opening of the St. Regis for l'Espinasse, and I was there for 5 years. My background in Louisiana, people use a lot of spice. The beauty of Louisiana is you can take 100 different people and you can have 100 different dishes. from how the people use the spice.
Yeah.
But I think inherently, the people, they know how to feel when spice comes down. You should feel it after you swallow, and it should be a lingering effect. And basically what I've done is just expanded my repertoire with some of the spices from the Far East or whatever that we use. But nothing is predominantly, you know, just with that cannonball effect. Rather, it's the balance.
Chorus effect.
It's the chorus, it's a balance, it's how everything harmonizes.
Jim and Judy Davies.
Jim and Judy Davies. Well, you know where we are and you know why we're here. Jim and Judy Davies. How long have you been eating at Caravelle?
Since the early 60s.
You're New Yorkers?
Well, we live in New Jersey now, but
Okay.
we were here in New York at the time. And,
So, occasions, anniversaries, parties, this sort of thing? Yeah.
Parties.
Lots and lots of them.
plus,
Business.
I've headed the Burgundy Wine Society in New York. So
Wow.
Andre is a member, and we've had our final dinner every year here. A great way to wind up our season. We'll miss this, but wherever he is, we're going to find him.
Margot and John Greeley.
I was here once before, back in '97, January of '97. I've been meaning to come back ever since. And when I read last week that they were closing, decided instantly I need to try to get some reservations. It's my mother's first time.
First time I've been down here. It was lovely. It was just wonderful. I feel bad that it's not going to be here, and because I would love to come again.
And you came down from Syracuse for this.
Correct, near Syracuse, correct.
Folks, who would have thunk it? This idiot would be the last guy to eat the last pike quenelle at Caravelle. I mean, I don't know, 1959 they opened. I was about 2.5 years old. This is it. This is the last one. The place is emptying out. We're the last table. Anyway, I'm diving in. It's getting cold. Sauce and anchoa, which is just this lobster essence.
Which is saying no more ties, no more jackets, no more rules. And
where am I going to go to get this? Where am I going to go to get this?
you know, I really
Anybody, somebody, tell me. Do you know a place? Where do they serve this now? This is wonderful. It's airy. It's souffled. The sauce is rich. This is like a bisque on steroids.
What this restaurant is about is hospitality, expressed in every way, in food, ambiance, and most of all, the hands-on, loving welcome of Mr. and Mrs. Jammet. This is an experience around the food, but it's an experience of friendship. It's an experience of conviviality. This is what you want.
Danielle, you're huge.
Thank you.
You're a big guy in Manhattan. You've been here forever.
Wow.
Talk to us about Caravelle, the significance, the memories, the importance of this place as an iconic institution for New York.
Of course, and I mean the Caravelle, when I arrived in America, which was about 22 years ago, it was the reference for us, for young chef. It was the reference for French restaurant, and also restaurant were already at a past and was having a very strong present and a future, of course. But when I arrived, I think it was definitely to know about what a great French restaurant in America is made of. And of course, this is always what we use as benchmark when you start, and when you and it's wonderful also to have places who can maintain tradition. And the biggest problem in our world today is that tradition is going away. And I think because new generation wish to have something different, something new, but they don't feel so connected with tradition. Because I don't think there's enough effort made in transmitting tradition. And so LaCARAVELLE was definitely a place with tradition.
A good French restaurant is an experience, and if you can afford it, it's fun to do it once in a while.
Yeah, well, we're going to be missing this one in New York, don't you think? I mean, this is another one after Lutece and
It is.
and
It's interesting what's happened to restaurants in New York. There are a great many good restaurants that have sprung up, and they're interesting and they're different. The great formal French restaurants are disappearing because the appeal of the formality of a French restaurant has gone.
You think that's what it is?
I do think that's
Okay.
true, yeah. They want to go in without their coats on and without their neckties on. And they are not interested in all the gracious amenities that a good French restaurant has.
The great service, you know, the buzz, the allure of it. It's something else now. Huh? It's noisy, it's there.
This was one of the good ones.
Yeah, it sure was.
I don't pretend to be a gourmet, but I do like good food and good service. And the Caravelle supplied that in very adequate portions.
For many, many years.
I've been coming here almost since they were founded, I think. And it's been really one of my favorite restaurants. We've spent quite a lot of time here. I have some favorite dishes. I really hate to see them close because we are losing this sort of restaurant, these really fine French restaurants disappearing from our horizon here in New York City. And I think that's a great shame. That apparently the modern restaurant has to be even noisier than these. There's got to be a little background of music. That's not my idea of a restaurant necessarily. There are still some very good restaurants in town, thank goodness, but I hate to see this one leave us now after the losses we've had in the last month or so of some other very good ones.
Yeah.
And these are lovely people, the Jammets, who run this restaurant. I kind of hope that she wins out over her husband, and they do have another restaurant in the not too distant future.
Thank you so much.
You're right.
Signing off. Signing off here. We're saying
That's
goodnight.
the way it is.
Thank you very much.
bet.
Thank you so much. And now the tenor Robert White, who teaches at Juilliard, will perform.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Rita and Andre, how much we all do love you so.
Caravelle, what a story this was. You know, one of the most important restaurants in the history of New York City. A landmark, a lot of great people trained there in the front of the house, in the back of the house, and again, it's a direct descendant to that Pavillon 39 World's Fair tradition that changed American cooking and changed cooking in New York from that point on. So what am I going to cook? Troy does wonderful modern food. Again, one of the things they've always done at Caravelle is have great talent in the chef. They had Michael Romano, Tadashi Ono, Fezziget. I mean, Fezziget was the guy in the 60s and 70s. He was one of the best chefs in America. A phenomenal cook. But even after that, they managed to retain freshness and get great guys. And Troy is a super talented kid and does a really wonderful modern menu, but they always kept this little classic section in the middle of page 2, I think it was, which was the Pike's quenelle sauce Nantua, Dover sole grillé meunière, that crab, and then smoked salmon. And I thought, you know, Caravelle closes, where are you going to go to get Dover sole Meunière? I mean, they're not doing that all over town anymore. That used to be like a staple on every menu. But you can buy Dover sole, and you can make Meunière at home, and it's simple. So I thought, like we always do, let's get something from the restaurant and do it at home. And man, I tell you, if Grenouille goes out in Perigord, we're dead. I mean, then you have to do this at home, folks, or I'm going to have to come over and do it. Here's the Dover sole. Wonderful fish. One of the great features of Dover is its ability to skin. All fish should come like this, let me tell you. You grab a piece of the skin that just comes off, and presto magico. Now, let me tell you something. I want to make a note to the creator, maybe by next year, do the same thing for striped bass, tautog, black, you know, all just, come on. Make all fish convertibles. That is how you skin a Dover sole. We're going to take the head off because nobody wants to look at fish with a head on it. Right here. By head. Trim the viscera. Good. Meunière just means milk and flour. We're going to dredge it in milk, soak it in milk a little bit, then dredge it in flour, saute it in a pan with a mix of oil and butter, and then at the very end, with this fish Meunière, we're going to make a Meunière butter, which is just brown butter with lemon juice and chopped parsley spooned over the fish. Elegant, simple, and again, you could buy this. It's like 16 bucks, 15 bucks retail. I mean, you know, it's an elegant dinner. You're on a date. It's an anniversary. In a restaurant, this will cost you 40 bucks. At home, it'll cost you 16. And you'll be doing it in style, man. You know, cooking Dover sole Meunière. I mean, it's retro. It's cool. It's old school. You'll be, it's points. It's points, I guarantee. All right. How are we going to garnish this? Basics. When you're doing basics, stick with the tradition. Turned potatoes, the way they've done them, you know, get little waxy potatoes, tournée them, parboil them till they're just tender, hold them, then at the end, a little butter, little chopped chives, and that's it. Hey, it's worked for years. That's what we're going to do. Well, traditional tournée potatoes had 7 sides. 7, count them. Make them with 6 or 5. Chef Feziguet's going to kick your butt. He would, too. That's how it was back in those days. He was a master. Just old school discipline, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, same thing. I've got it symmetrical. It's even looking. It's going to sit on the plate and not roll. And we're going. Got a pan. Salted water. I'm just going to bring that to a simmer. 15, 18 minutes. They're done. I don't want them falling apart. So I'm going to put them on the stove. Stay here. You don't have to watch this. This is what it is. All right. Meunière means milk. So just going to soak it in a little milk, and we'll turn it over a couple of minutes so it gets completely covered. Attaboy. That's it. What did I say? Butter, lemon juice, parsley. We got the butter, lemon juice. I'm going to pre-squeeze because I don't want any seeds, you know what I mean? I don't want Chef Feziguet after me. Some parsley. You can chop it any old way you want, but I do recommend you use flat parsley because it tastes better than curly parsley, in my opinion. Remove it from the milk. Into the flour. Salt. Remember, salt it from tip to tip, top to bottom. Flour. And again, both sides. Oh, that's perfect. She's coated. See, it's not like a heavy breading. It's just a dusting, right? Right. Some oil in the pan, because I'm not going to use butter in the beginning. It'll burn. All right, shake off the excess flour. And remember, when you're cooking fish with the bone in it, bone in, because I know everybody Americans don't like fish with bones. We always cook fillets. You know, maybe a steak, but usually just a fillet, boneless protein. In Europe, they cook fish with the bone in all the time. There's a theory, and I kind of agree to it, that it tastes better, but it cooks a little slower because where that bone is, you got to get the heat to penetrate to where the fish is hitting the bone. So we're allowing a little more time than if this was just, you know, fillet meat. That was a mess. This is not the butter for the Meunière butter. This is just to give this fish a little kind of buttery flavor. Let that brown butter get right up there in the fish. Let me strain the potatoes. a little butter with salt. And then when that butter melts, we'll put little chives in there. That's the side that went in the pan. That's the side that's coming out. Meunier butter. I would never make Meunier butter in a pan this big if I was at a restaurant because it's stupid, but it's hot and it's ready. I wiped it out so I don't have any of that burnt stuff in there. All the moisture is cooking out of the butter now, is what's happening. That's why all these bubbles, and these bubbles will start to subside as the moisture comes, and then we're going to brown the milk solids, which is what brown butter is. We've got the water out. You see all that fizzing? That's the last of the water coming out. You can see it. Bubbles are getting tighter, smaller, beginning to brown. All right, don't burn it. That's it. You can smell it too. It smells kind of nutty. In goes the lemon juice. Stand back. Beautiful. Chopped parsley. We're going to spoon it over the fish. All right, that's my baby. In the old days, you'd probably have a big thing of parsley here as garnish. But you see how that Meunier butter sits up like a glaze? You know, it's got some sheen to it. Now, to eat this, this is where everyone gets confused, right? Now what? There's bones! Well, Caravelle had someone tableside that would do this for you. Four Seasons still does. You know, the great places that do Dover sole do it tableside for those who are squeamish and don't know. But it's simple. I'm just going to find the middle right here. And with our knife, we're going to work the meat off there. Cut right around this edge. Pull this off. And there's your first fillet. Just work it off the bone. And there's your fillet here. 1, 2. Turn it over. Just work right down that center bone. The fish comes off. There's another fillet, and here's your last one. And we'll get rid of the bone. And rearrange them. I think the Four Seasons, they put one side up, one side down, but we'll just go like this. And there's your baby. It's very simple, very elegant. It's really wonderful meat, Dover sole, too. It has a real quality all its own. I don't know. There's a firmness and a richness of the flavor. It's funny how Dover sole has its own character. I mean, they all look the same. Fluke, flounder, Dover. And yet this Dover has completely unique characteristic. Certain flukes and flounders are unique depending on the waters. There's one that, a blackback flounder we get from up north of New Bedford. It's an oily flounder that my wife and I can eat by the pound, I think. I mean, pounds each. Anyway, sorry about Caravelle. Incredible. A loss for New York, but so sometimes farmers plow fields under and let them sit for a while. And from that, more fertile soil is born. Caravelle has given us so many great chefs, so many great waiters and maitre d's, and has really enriched the life of New York over generations, which is a monument. I mean, it's written its own chapter in the history of New York restaurants. We're sad to see it go, but Chef Fezziget in his reign and the Jammets in theirs were just wonderful hosts and hostesses to New York's finest, as well as anybody that wanted to come in the front door and make a reservation and sit at the table and eat some of the best food that's really ever been plated. We'll miss them, but so it goes. It's a big town. New York continues. Jammets, thank you for everything, and Caravelle, you'll be missed.